Thanks, Chairman. Chief, I wanted to, you had, my last question, we were talking about the proposed alternative with the new forest planning rule. And specifically, with some of the delays regarding permitting, and specific to, I will really zero in on something important in my state and obviously present in the Allegheny National Forest, but also important nationally, the permitting related to natural gas production on our national forests. Do you see the proposed forest rule as assisting in having that done more efficiently, the permitting process? Will the new forest rule make that a better process, not just in the Allegheny, but national?
Yeah. Well, Congressman, I do believe it will, once again, be a much more efficient process, and especially during our forest planning process. That's when we make the determinations often of which areas should be available for leasing, areas that we consent for the BLM to go ahead and lease. That's our first decision. As far as the drilling permits, those decisions are not part of the National Forest Plan specifically, but by doing a good job to establish the standards and guides that are followed, it really facilitates being able to use our categorical exclusions for the drill site, and which really will expedite that. So it does have a direct benefit. The other key thing is by leaving up to the local unit the discretion for which standards and guides that they need to address the drilling operations. That allows them to basically customize to address the local issues instead of having something that's that we use nationally.
Well, I want to follow up on that because the local discretion, I think it has positives, but I think it has some potential threats as well. You probably, as you both probably know, in the past year, the George Washington National Forest in Virginia proposed to ban horizontal drilling. Similarly, the Wayne National Forest in Ohio canceled a mineral lease auction citing potential shale gas drilling and hydraulic fracturing. Now, both techniques, of course, are critical in order to access previously unconventional sources of shale gas, and obviously, for the record, they're not new. We've hydrofracked over 1 million wells in this country over a period of more than 60 years. So what are the Forest Service and the BLM doing to stop these unilateral decisions and allow for shale production to move forward on federal lands? Or in other words, what are you doing about this?
Well, Congressman, your point of finding that right balance between allowing the local managers some discretion, some decision making, but at the same time to have consistent approaches where we need to. I mean, that's the role of my office here to make sure that we have that consistent approach. And we of course believe that fracking is proven to be a very safe technical approach without any question, as long as it's done correctly. In those two situations that you referenced on both the Wayne and on the Wayne, we believed we needed to, because of some questions that were raised about a decision that was made in 2006, we had to stop and reevaluate to make sure that there isn't any new information that we hadn't factored into that decision, to make sure that that lease can go forward after we've made our decision, so ensure we don't just end up in court. On the George Washington Jeff, it's the forest plan revision process, and in both cases, the concerns were raised by the public, local government officials that questioned if we had done adequate analysis, and so that's the reason we've had to take a step back and do some additional analysis to address their concerns. One of the things with this hydraulic fracking, it's been going on. We've been using it for many, many decades in this country, and it's when it's done correctly, there's no problems with it. But the public has some concerns, especially in some parts of the country where it's relatively, well, the horizontal part of it is somewhat new. I think by reassuring the public about what chemicals are actually being used, to reassure that without any question, it's going to be done correctly, to make sure that the well bore is properly sealed, and that there's a plan to dispose of the wastewater that's pulled out of these wells. I believe that'll go a long way to resolve a lot of concerns that the public has, and by having that in place, I think it will also help our decisions. because we'll rely on the BLM, their rulemaking. We will not, nor do we have the authority to deal with the subsurface estate. That's the BLM's responsibility. So what'll come out of their rulemaking, we'll use it. But I really do think it'll help alleviate, a lot of the public's concerns about this, so that we can actually move forward more efficiency with our decision making.
And just the patience of the chairman, just one clarification, because you mentioned, I think that's important people to understand, where the American taxpayers own the subsurface rights, the BLM has jurisdiction. So am I correct in saying that, for example, in the Allegheny National Forest, where it really is private individuals and entities that own the subsurface rights, then in terms of subsurface, the jurisdiction really falls with the state, and specifically in Pennsylvania, Department of Environmental Protection?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.